Hey everybody, welcome back to my garage. Today we're going to start disassembling the truck to figure out what exactly went wrong. Stay tuned. So if you noticed in the video, the truck pretty suddenly just stopped, shut off, boom, everything. At first I wasn't quite sure if we lost a drive shaft, although I would have heard that kind of hitting around, or if I blew the rear end, or the transmission locked up or something like that. But the weird thing was that the engine itself shut off too. You know, everything just died. And if you actually see in the video from the front end, it threw the belt as well, which I thought was odd. But basically what happened was the motor just locked up so quickly that that belt was still rotating and it just flew off because the crankshaft stopped moving. Let me show you what happens when I do try to crank it over, because it does actually try to crank. So as you can see, it does try to crank at least, but that's really just seems like the starter spinning, and you see the crankshaft kind of wobbling back and forth on the front, the balancer on the front kind of wobbling back and forth. So don't know if that means the crankshaft split in half or what there. So should be interesting. I guess you'll put your comments down below what you think happened, and we'll start getting this thing torn apart. Okay, and there we have it. Remove the front fenders, remove the front bumper, headlights, grill, header panel, all the lights. Give us plenty of room. You know, from this on, everything's kind of welded in, so that's as far back as I could go. When I get a friend, I will remove the hood as well, give us more area. So, guess this is enough for today. It took only about an hour and a half. I just got some other things I gotta get done today. And then when I come back in the next part, we will probably start pulling things like battery, radiator, and intake, all that stuff that's going to get in the way. And again, just get this thing ready to be pulled out. And we are back. It's another day, and we are going to start working underneath the hood, pull the battery, air intake, radiator, and just start unplugging electricals. Hopefully going to label everything so I know where it goes back. We'll find out. A little bit of a long project. It's getting hot here in Florida. And a few days have passed. You know, I just get busy. It's summer. But today, we aren't specifically focusing on the Ranger, but we're actually focusing on putting some new lighting in the shop. Because, as you can see, it's not too... Here, I'll spin the camera around and show you. Trying to work under the hood of the vehicle. But the issue is, the lights are over there. All we have are lights in the middle. We have these fluorescents, which don't like to work all the time, and then those which were converted to LED, but we need more. So we're taking these down and we're putting out 6. There'll be 2 here in the center, 2 on this end, and then 2 on this end, which should help, because I'm just getting annoyed, frankly. I mean, yes, we're taking the hood off of the vehicle, but still, even then, it's pretty dark in this corner. So yeah, this is long overdue. There we go. 6 new lights up. So much brighter in here. I'll show you from under the hood here too. I actually have more light underneath the hood too now because we have these lights here. If I actually pushed it back about a foot, it'd probably be fine. I wouldn't need a light under here. 6 new lights. Shout out to my dad for coming and helping me and watching over my shoulder, make sure I did everything correctly. We're all good. Sometimes just need to work on your shop a little bit more, make it a little bit more enjoyable to work on your truck.
That's pretty light.
Yeah, it's not bad. So I guess this is the moment of truth. As you can tell, the lower intake is off. The valley doesn't look too bad there. I think some of that coolant and oil and stuff came out when I was pulling the intake, but maybe not. Maybe some of that was in there, but either way, it doesn't look too bad. I've taken the bolts off, but I have not popped these off because I want to do it on camera so y'all see. Same time I did. All I did was make sure they were loose. Guess we'll start with the driver's side. Those nice, pretty rockers. Pretty tight. Don't feel any looseness in there. They're all tight on this side. Let's put them on this side. Nothing of concern there. And we have all of these rockers. That's a little loose. Oh, that rod's definitely bent. See that bend there? That is definitely a bent bush rod. That would be what caused that slack. Nice. Okay. So we'll keep going on this. And just like that, the engine and transmission, which is sitting over in the corner over there, are out. We used our little DIY engine hoist here. Got a couple of 4x4s, pressure treated, some offcuts of 2x4s, and a chain hoist and strap that we had. And it actually worked quite well. I didn't really see any flex or anything. Pulled it out pretty easily. We now have very messy but empty engine bay here. So many wires and hoses and everything else in this truck, which kind of scares me a bit, but we tried to label as much as we could Time to do a damage report here. When we took off the valve covers, we noticed the bent push rod there. As you can see, that is bent and that is wiggly, and that is no good there. As we came back down, I noticed a bunch of oil on this side, but what we found out was that this was just a loose fitting on the oil filter relocation kit here, which is why all of this down there is caked in oil. That would have been an easy fix, but I just never realized that's what it was, so oh well. But as you can kind of see here, we start seeing quite a bit of damage. This whole crankshaft is pushed out quite a bit, and it's actually cracked right there, the front cover. Luckily that's the cover, not the block, but that's completely cracked and broken into two pieces there, and that entire crankshaft is pushed out. As you can see, it no longer sits level or flush where it's supposed to be with the water pump there, and you can actually see it ran into the water pump right there. That is just jammed into the water pump. But again, the block looked fine on this side till we came to this side. Again, that is the front cover, front timing cover there, and that is cracked. Again, we already know we need a front timing cover, but if you look right here, that is the block itself, and that is cracked, as well as another crack down here, which means that this block is toast without even opening up. I can tell you, we're going to need a new motor. So from here, I'm going to continue to tear this down, probably flip it over, take off the pan on the bottom, see how that looks, and then rotate the engine back over and take off the heads. Got the engine all flipped over, took the oil pan off, and start at the back of the motor here, and there is a big chunk of piston, and in here looks some big chunk of piston. Yeah, the oil pickup here, that's some more piston. Coming this way, that's was the crank. That's no longer connected there, and this rod's a little bent, piston's a little sideways, and there's lots of piston pieces. She's fully gone. The timing chain is no longer connected to anything. It's just chilling there. On the end of it, there it is. That timing chain is shot. So she's done, boys. There's no saving this motor. She's junk. That rod has nothing connected to it. There is nothing connected to that rod anymore. Piston is fully gone. So hopefully when we take off the heads, we'll see if the heads are good and the camshaft. Those are the things I really want still from this motor, and the headers of course, but everything else can be trashed. Not too worried about that. Well, that solidifies that this motor is not coming back. She's junk. So keep tearing into it. Okay, we have torn more of the engine down here, got the exhaust off, got the rockers off, got all the push rods out, all of that. Made a nice pile of all of that stuff. I wanted to show you the push rods here with the most straight to start losing around here. These are pretty bent. This is the one I saw actually when we opened up the top of the engine, but those are quite bent, so definitely sent it, fully sent it. Now to fully finish pulling off these heads and see the damage underneath. Alright, so we got heads off here. We'll start on the block here. The piston walls actually are pretty clean. I'm not seeing too much on these first ones. Something was definitely up with this piston. Someone want to tell me why it is much darker and dirtier like that, more carbon buildup or something on there. It's interesting. And this piston, as you can see, is rotated. This would be the front passenger side of the motor. And that piston's actually rotated a little bit. You can see from the indentions there. And there's a little bit, you can see it actually hit the valve by the little indent there when it rotated. So that's not the best. But this block is garbage anyway. I was more concerned about the heads. We'll get there in a minute. We'll start here. That one doesn't look too bad. That one doesn't look too bad. Again, this one's a little bit darker. And then that's the piston that came completely disconnected from the rod there. And you can see that rotated a lot. Again, this one doesn't look like the valve, because it happened so quickly. It doesn't look like the valve really did much damage. It looks like, if you can see right here, maybe tapped right there. That's about it. Otherwise, the piston walls are actually in good shape. There's a bunch of debris from opening up the head, but piston walls are actually in good shape. Now let's check out the heads. So check them out here. I ran out of room on my table. I guess I need to get another one in here. But anyway, this is the driver's side head here, starting at the back. And you can see that this one here is the one that's dark again. I'm not quite sure why. I don't know if there was some intrusion there of coolant or if just something wasn't going right there. And then you can see right there on that valve, put my light down, right there on the valve, that valve hit it and it's not quite closing all the way. You can see some daylight through there, so that's telling me that that's definitely hit and will need to get replaced. But I think these heads are savable. Here on the passenger side head, it looks a lot cleaner than that driver's side head. So that's good as well. All these look okay. I don't see any damage to any of the valves. They all seem to be closed right now. So that is good news there. Well, there's my crankshaft, or at least first part of my crankshaft. And here we go. It's finally all torn down. We have a bare block, other than the motor mounts I still have to take off. But that is definitely a problem. So here is the rundown of everything. The block, obviously, toast. It is cracked beyond repair. That's just a paperweight now. We have crankshaft. This is the new two-piece crankshaft that we have here. That is obviously trash. Timing chain snapped. Those two pistons, you tell me, but I'd say that's a problem. There's the rest of the piston that we are missing, the skirt, mostly from that one there. That right there is the rod to the oil pump. As you can see, that's no longer straight, so that's junk. Yeah, so the only things really that are salvageable from this are the heads, and luckily the camshaft. The camshaft is salvageable too. Other than that, bottom end of this motor is toast. Now, obviously, I knew this was a very tired engine going into it. It's just from a 1998 Ford Explorer, pretty high mileage on it, had a camshaft and a throttle body, and then threw it into this truck. So, obviously, it's tired. I knew it was on its way out. It's been consuming oil for quite some time. I've had it tuned a couple times thinking it wasn't running right, and nothing really changed after that. So, this was a great send-off for it, and now I get to build the truck my way. So stay tuned. In the next video on this truck, I'll go into depth on everything I plan on doing to it before we get it back on the road. It's definitely going to be a little bit of a lengthy process, but I do already have some boxes of parts already here. And then I do have 2 videos of my wife's SUV coming out before the next video on this truck. So just subscribe, stay tuned, and thank you so much for watching.